Last of our local author series here at Joyner Green Valley Library. Today we're celebrating the beginning of National Poetry Month, and we're very grateful to have Raymond here to kick off this great month for us. Before we get started, if you could please turn off your cell phones or put them on silent, that would be much appreciated. And just want to mention one other thing that's coming up this month here at Joyner. We are doing for National Poetry Month, we're having a National Poetry Month open mic hour. That will be in 2 weeks from today. That will be Tuesday, April 15th from 2 to 3 p.m. I have some extra flyers here if you're interested. What we're doing during that hour is if you have your own poems you'd like to share, or if you just like poetry and would like to share with us, that would be great. Welcome, Raymond. We're really grateful to have you here. I know you've tried for quite a while to have an opportunity to be here with us. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Raymond Keene was educated at Case Western Reserve University and the University of Oklahoma. He spent 3 years as a Navy clinical psychologist with a year in Vietnam, July 1967 through 1968. Since that time, he has worked as a school psychologist and licensed mental health counselor in the USA and overseas until his retirement in 2006. He is a credentialed school psychologist in the states of California and Washington and a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Washington. Raymond lives with his wife, Kimmy, who is present here with us in the front row. Welcome. In Sahuarita, Arizona. They have 2 grown children, Annalise and Michael. Love Poems for Cannibals is the author's first volume of poetry. He is also the author of the drama, The Private and Public Life of King Abel, which will be published in 2014. Raymond's poetry has been published in 24 literary journals. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And this is a very special day for me, and actually, I think you may realize it's a very special day for all of you. And that is because
Celebrating words.
it's April Fool's Day.
I know. Oh, you got me on that one.
And that is celebrating all of us fools. Now, I have a friend in the audience who, I won't give you his name, although his initials are FW, and he's wearing a red hat. He probably will pull off something during this thing. All you can do is just play along and laugh. Now, I'm sitting down because I had knee replacement surgery, February 25th. So I don't mean to be rude, but I couldn't make it standing up. So with that, I think I want to kind of review the structure of my book, Love Poems for Cannibals. By the way, my book was published by CreateSpace in February 2013. Now, the cover, these books afterwards are for sale if anyone's interested. But the cover, which I spent a lot of time searching for, is a painting by Francesco Clemente, actually a watercolor. I've never met Francesco Clemente. He's a very famous artist, born in Naples, lives in New York City. But through his agent, he gave me permission to use this incredible watercolor, enigmatic, mysterious, kind of like I hope some of my poems are. and the watercolor was painted in 1982. It's called Fire, and actually is a kind of self-portrait of Francesco Clemente. So my book is divided into 8 sections, and I'm going to go through the sections and read a couple of poems, in some cases just one poem, in one section 4 poems. I think we'll have time to read my better poems. They're all pretty good, I think. But there are some poems that I think I have great respect for that are, I'll use the word transgressive. They're so dark and so down and dirty, so to speak, that I'm skipping those. So the first section of my book, can everybody hear me, by the way? The first section is, like I say, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I worked in Vietnam as a clinical psychologist attached to the 1st Marine Division, 67-68. And the name of the first section is, The Vietnam War is Not Dinky Dow. Of course, That's an absurd statement because if you know what Dinky Dao means, idiomatic expression used by the Vietnamese and also the grunts, Dinky Dao means crazy. And if Vietnam is anything, or was anything, or ever will be anything, it's Dinky Dao. So that's a false assertion. The Vietnam War is not Dinky Dao. So I'm going to read a poem which is quite autobiographical. I wrote it, the beginning of it in my diary in Vietnam in 1967 after seeing a Marine and being very moved by his plight. And so the name of the poem is Doofus Ensign, that's me. Doofus Ensign comes to terms with the war with the aid of a little hash. The smoky haze in the neuropsychiatry hut at 1st Med Battalion would not have been overlooked in broad daylight. But now an ensign psychologist sits alone there, late in Da Nang's night, experiencing a death of ego with the aid of a little hash. He wonders, because there is no separation from me and what I see, can psychosis be more real than sanity? The ensign remembers what Marine Corporal Pruitt told him early that morning. The story of shooting someone who was running away in black pajamas at a distance of 300 yards. That's about a quarter of a click in broad daylight. As Corporal Pruitt approached the black pajama figure lying on the ground, he saw a woman about his mother's age. He listened as the woman gasped for air, the sound of blood gurgling in her throat, preventing her from crying out. He listened to the soft hissing sound coming from the hole of the woman's chest as a pink froth formed around the wound, the black pajamas now wet and sticky with the woman's red blood, drying fast in the afternoon sun, drying fast in broad daylight. Now the hashish has created a haven of light around the event. The ensign remembers hearing Corporal Pruitt ask, what will my mother say when I tell her I shot a woman? Should I tell her, Doc? Do you think she can forgive me? Corporal Pruitt confessed, I am changing every day I change. Sometimes it seems like years in one day from the things I have seen and heard and felt. The ensign continues to sit alone in the hazy Da Nang night. If now he begins to understand the war, it is the hash that allows him to weep. It is still very dark outside, but the ensign is sure he is weeping, in broad daylight. It is the hash that allows him to weep. I didn't expect to get that emotional. So that is the first section, a poem from the first section, and the second section is quite a change of pace. In fact, it's unique in the volume in the sense that it's actually not dark and it's religious. The second section, Est Deus in nobis, God is in us. And the poem probably encompasses in a general sense all of the religions, primarily Christianity and Buddhism, but I'm going to read two poems about Jesus, one about Jesus as a kind of a guy in all of us, everywhere, and another more formal poem about Jesus the Christ. I love the traveling Christ. I saw Christ jogging in Wiesbaden. I saw Christ eating a hot dog in New York. I saw Christ spitting on a Berkeley street. I saw Christ disrupting the stoning of a woman in Tehran. I saw Christ sleeping in a Detroit gutter. I saw Christ bleeding in a no-fire zone in Sri Lanka. I saw Christ teaching the children in Burundi. I saw Christ feeding the starving in Chad. I saw Christ standing with a man before the tanks in Tiananmen Square. I saw Christ begging for food in the slums of Zimbabwe. I love the traveling Christ who has no place to lay his head. I love the traveling Christ with no street address. By the way, I forgot to say something very important. I was going to say it right off. I don't want to just read poems. I want anyone at any time after I read a poem, if you have a comment or a question, please raise your hand. So maybe this could be interactive to a degree. I don't think I said that, but I realized I'm just reading poems, and I can see you're listening, but if you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand or stand up or blurt something out. Okay?
On that traveling poem, were you visible in those places that you mentioned?
Absolutely.
I mean, you saw
In the-
that man in the gutter?
I saw a man in a gutter more than once, but
Okay.
there's one a special time in Berkeley, right outside my apartment, and I thought of Christ.
So
I
there-
lived in Wiesbaden, but yeah, I've never been in Tehran, but
Okay,
I identify with a Christ who defends those that can't defend themselves.
okay, thank
I
you.
also identify with a Christ in this poem who's utterly vulnerable. Again, this is about Jesus the Christ, I guess you could say. He is the king of nothing. He is the king of nothing, yet his tears run blood red down, eternally blanching skin. The colors of his cloak are many rainbows. Where do his colors come from? When we are life, we are blood red, root green. His ruby red heart beats in us. Our blood sings his gold vermilion fire. Through these sapphire blue veins flows sanguis novus. Where do our colors come from in this biology of lies? So that's God is in us, est Deus in nobis. Now I'm going to read the third section, tongue-in-cheek, a jab at my Blessed Mother, God bless her soul, now deceased. Mother is on vacation. And this poem is, in a general sense, autobiographical. The poem is a tyrant's dream, and I guess I'm the tyrant who, as this poem flows along, you see it's really about a boy kind of growing up, a boy who has a twin brother, references made to that, a tyrant's dream. You leave home, you hate them for not understanding. You return, but find you were locked out of the house. Now you remember, your mother is on vacation. You notice this other woman has more hair on her arms than you, but you let that dog lie. Then you notice these other women don't shave their legs, but they are weak. You are strong. So you climb up the tree in their backyard. You peer through the window. Suddenly your path seems more certain because you realize that you are also weak. All that ability, but no authority. Once you were the favorite, simply by playing a parasitic endgame with your chameleon host. Now in this hell we call heaven, she can't even remember your name. You were Ahab, trapped in the birth canal, first-rate spirit waiting to be born second, swallowing your twin's shit as he was born, waiting, deciding. Now you are the robber. Now you are the thief. Now you have blue eyes and blonde hair. Now you are utterly fearless. Now you are Ahab astride the white whale. Now you play God with mother. Now you shit truth. Any comments? Okay. Wait a minute.
What was the allusion to the women, where the women that you speak in here?
It's kind of weird. I'll try to explain it. When I grew up, and even today, I'm relatively hairless. I had a girlfriend in high school who had more hair on her legs than I did. My twin brother, who was fraternal, was hairy as all get out. I probably doubted my masculinity, but I was also very curious about women. I was, at least on one occasion, did climb up a tree and peered through a window to look at some girls when I was probably, 9 years old.
Was it on Grace Street?
Uh-oh. And it was on Grace Street.